All right, go ahead, Todd.
Should there be witnesses in your view, and who should they be?
Listen, I don't think witnesses are necessary. It's kind of a bizarre morning because it is chaos that has played out. We were coming into this morning, and the Democratic senators had agreed witnesses were not needed. Everyone expected that we'd have closing arguments and a vote today. And then at the last minute, the House managers changed their mind, and they decided they wanted to call a witness, Jessica Herrera Butler. I think what happened is leftist Twitter got really upset last night that they weren't calling witnesses, and I think the House, this is a political theater, and I think the House managers were feeling heat on their left flank, and so they surprised Schumer and the Democrats by saying they wanted witnesses. At this point, nobody knows what's going to happen. I will say this. If we do call witnesses, it's not going to be one-sided. It's not going to be only the House managers get witnesses and President Trump doesn't get witnesses. And so if the House managers call Representative Herrera Butler, I think it is very likely that President Trump's lawyers will call Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi is clearly a relevant witness to this matter. Speaker Pelosi can testify as to when she knew about the threats on the Capitol, what she knew specifically, and in particular, she can testify. We heard already that the House Sergeant at Arms turned down National Guard protection for the Capitol on January 6th because of, quote, the optics. And I think Speaker Pelosi can testify as to whether she made a decision based on optics, based on politics, not to have additional protection at the Capitol to prevent the terrorist attack that played out. My view remains we don't need witnesses, but I think if the Democrats want to open this Pandora's box, I don't think it's going to work out well for them.
Should President Trump himself be one of the witnesses if there are witnesses, and why not?
You know, there is a long tradition in our trials that is reflected in the Bill of Rights that any individual is not required to testify against themselves, to testify at their own trial. I don't think we should attempt to force the president to testify at his own impeachment trial. This is the House managers or the prosecutors. They have the burden of proof. They haven't proven their case. The reason you're seeing this Hail Mary is everybody knows the outcome of this proceeding, which is that President Trump is going to be acquitted. It takes 67 votes to convict. There aren't 67 votes, and those on the extreme far left are angry right now, and today is a reflection of that anger.
Do you think there are any minds that could be changed if witnesses are called?
Sure. I think where we are right now, I think we likely are about 55 votes to convict. I think all of the Democrats are likely to vote to convict. By the way, I think all the Democrats were going to vote to convict on day one. All of the Democrats were going to vote to convict in 2017. Many of these Democrats went on record as Trump was being sworn into as president, saying they wanted to impeach him. So I think on the Democratic side, it's purely political. I think on the Republican side, we've seen 5 Republicans who voted with the Democrats on a couple of procedural motions. I think there's a reasonable possibility those 5 vote to convict. I'd say there are 55 votes to convict plus or minus 2. I think we could probably see a low of 53 and a high of 57. Neither of those are remotely close to the 67 it takes to convict.
And is it a vote on every single witness or just a resolution with an infinite number of amendments? What's your sense?
Well, under the rules, as I understand it, it's a vote on each witness. And so I think Schumer right now is dealing with chaos, doesn't know what to do because they hadn't planned on this. This was supposed to be, last night everyone went to bed being told this was going to be a unanimous consent that everyone agreed to, that we wouldn't have witnesses. And then it was this morning, it erupted into chaos. I'm hearing from multiple senators that the Democratic senators don't want witnesses. And by the way, if we go down the road of witnesses, this impeachment trial could last all of February, all of March, all of April. I got to tell you, I just came from the Republican cloakroom. There are a lot of Republican senators that are saying, all right, fine, if you want to drag this out, every day we're in this trial is a day that the Democratic majorities are not destroying the country, are not passing policies that are killing jobs and putting people out of work and keeping kids out of school. I think Schumer is trying desperately to get out of this this dead end into which they've driven themselves.
How can you drag it on if they have more than 50 votes potentially for
Well, look,
from bringing in
There are considerable discussions about that. Under the rules, impeachment is supposed to set aside all other business pending before the Senate. Look, my view from the beginning, I don't think Joe Biden wanted to go down the road of impeachment. I don't think Schumer and most of the Democratic senators wanted to go down the road of impeachment. The reason we're here is the hard left hates Donald Trump, and the House Democrats, they really reflect that hard partisan left. They drove the impeachment. I think Schumer felt he couldn't tell his base no, especially when he's afraid of being primaried from the left in New York. But I think Senate Democrats, they just got committee gavels. They just became chairman. They want to be taking up legislation, moving nominees. I think Senate Democrats are really frustrated right now. We may see a resolution. There are negotiations going on right now that we could see this thing resolved and ended today. I got to say, on the Republican side, I think we're fine however it plays out. I will say this, the outcome that would not be acceptable is for Senate Democrats to say we're going to let the House managers call witnesses, but President Trump's lawyers can't call any witnesses. And look, to be clear, I think it is unlikely that Republicans would vote for only Democratic witnesses and no witnesses for President Trump. I think the Republicans who supported the Democrats on other procedural matters would not support them on a one-sided biased trial, which means if it's a pure party line vote, 50-50, and they have to bring Kamala Harris in to break the tie, I think the whole country would look at a wildly unfair and biased trial. There are many aspects of this trial that ignore even the faintest hint of due process, and I think having a party line vote that says only Democrats get to call witnesses and the defendant in the proceeding doesn't get to call any witnesses, I don't think that passes the laugh test. I think you might even see some Democratic senators say, look, this is ridiculous. If one side gets to call a witness, the other side does. So I don't think we'll go down that road because it's so obviously unfair. But at this point, it's pandemonium.
Do you find Congresswoman Herrera Butler's statement to be credible about the competition?
I have no idea. I mean, at this point, it's hearsay or even double hearsay. I've spent a lot of my career as a practicing lawyer. I can tell you in any court in America, if you have a witness who gets up, who begins their testimony with, well, I don't know, but I heard a guy who told me, that witness gets laughed out of court. That doesn't get allowed in any ordinary circumstance. The entire House manager's case is based on hearsay and double hearsay and someone told someone. None of that is credible and reliable. I actually thought the President's defense lawyers did a very effective job with their montage of all the times the House managers said, well, this has been reported, that's been reported. With all due respect to our good folks in the press, the fact that it gets reported in some story does not establish it as a fact that is considered proven in anything resembling a court of law. And at this point, that's the entire basis of the manager's case. All right, thank you.